Students, this next example out of section 1.6, pretty interesting. We're again working with the midpoint formula. A lot of times we get caught up with, well, I use the formula to find the midpoint, but sometimes they're going to give you the midpoint and maybe one of the other endpoints and say, hey, what's the missing endpoint? And you got to work backwards just a little bit. So let me demonstrate this to you. I think you're going to find this very interesting, that you can manipulate these numbers like you can. I'll show you the algebraic way of doing it. You may be able to graph these and figure it out from the graph. I know some of you are really good at that. That's fine if you want to take the extra time to do that. I'm not going to do that. I think I'm just going to solve it the regular algebraic way. I'm not going to worry about graphing or anything. We know that the midpoint formula is this, where we add our x's, divide by 2, and we add our y's and divide by 2. Okay? So got that. That's, I think, pretty understandable. But what if they give you the midpoint? And they did. They said, well, m is our midpoint, and they told us that the midpoint is 4, -3. Okay? And we're supposed to figure out, you know, what the other things are. And so let's say coordinate A is 2, 2. Okay, so let me underline that because we're going to need that. We're going to need this. We're not going to need both of these numbers simultaneously, so let's pick it apart. Let's start with the x coordinate first of all, okay, to find this. Okay. Now what we would do normally if we had both the endpoints is we would take the x from point A plus the x from point B, and I don't know x of point B, that's what they're asking me to do. Divide that by 2, and that's going to give me the midpoint, which they gave me, which is 4. Okay? So here, remember that first 2 I wrote down, that's the x out of point A. This is the x out of point B, and I don't know point B. I don't know anything about it. And then I divide that by 2 according to my formula, and that will give me my midpoint, x coordinate of my midpoint, which is 4. Now to solve this, what I would do is I would get rid of that denominator first and foremost. Now notice that you're dividing by 2. How do you undo division? Correct. You would multiply each side by 2. So now I've got 2 plus x is equal to 8. Now how do I find x? Yep, subtract 2. So x is 6. All right? So if I'm looking for point B, I just figured out that B, the x coordinate for B, point B, is 6. Okay? So I'm going to do the same thing for the y coordinate. Okay? How I normally solve that, if I had both points, both pieces of information, I'd take the y of point A, which is 2, plus the y from point B, which I don't know. I do have no idea what the y of point B is. Divide that by 2, and that's going to equal, here's the y coordinate for the midpoint, -3. Solve it the same way. Get rid of the denominator. So we're going to multiply each side by 2. So now I have 2 plus y is equal to -6, and then subtract 2 from each side, and y is -8. So that missing coordinate is 6, -8. That's what B is going to end up equaling. Now you can check this. I can change colors to check it. If you just want to check A and B again, here's A, here's B, and you can add them up. Add up the x's, 2 plus 6 divided by 2, that's 8 over 2, which is 4. And then do it again for the y, 2 plus -8 over 2, 2 plus -8 is -6, -6 over 2 is, so here's your midpoint, 4, -3. And this is a great way to check, yeah, my midpoint is 4, -3. So that missing coordinate has to be 6, -8. I double checked it. All right, so I'm going to leave this one for you guys. Show your work, please. Okay, show your work. Let's see how you do it algebraically.